Welcome to the show with no name. Our special All-Star Break edition.
Yeah.
It's also a break from our radio show, so we're doing it at our usual radio time. We're recording this Tuesday at 10 a.m., just as though we were on the air.
We are.
So
without the music.
Well, sometimes we don't have the music anyway. So.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
I'm Bob Going. There's Gavin Murdoch. We forgot to tell Jim we were doing this, so Jim, sorry. Catch you next time. But we've been a little tangled up around here. Things are a little chaotic. Jamie's been home, and Louisa was home for the weekend.
You're cleaning out your attic?
Been cleaning out the attic, finding all kinds of strange treasures up there.
Things you forgot about?
I never forget about anything. You know, and it's funny because I know there's a couple of boxes I haven't found yet, and I'm not sure where they are, but there's certain
pieces missing so far.
Certain pieces missing. Yeah. Even as many photographs as I've recovered. I know there's some photographs missing as well. That well, we'll find them. They're popping up in the strangest places, especially that Nichols collection. You know, the family I'm not really related to, but Des Nichols married my grandmother, and I inherited the whole family because everybody else died without issue. So as did he, but he was the last one to go, and my mother and my aunt ended up with his estate, and they all ended up in my attic somehow.
Well, it's been safe. It's been a safe location.
Not particularly, because some of it, when the roof leaked, got a few things ended up missing that were not missing but destroyed. But it's amazing. I've posted more than 200 pictures from that family, and it's amazing how many photographs they had from an era that is now lost to most people. So I've got a pretty good reconstruction of this family growing up from the time the oldest was born in 1893 to actually from the time the parents were married, I think it was 1888 or something like that. That sound right? Yeah.
Yeah? And people didn't have their own cameras back then. Pretty much
apparently somebody in the family did eventually, but there's an awful lot of studio shots pre-1900. And after that, post-1900, there are Brownie cameras. As a matter of fact, I see one of the photographs has one of the cameras sitting on somebody's lap. It was about this big, but I think that's what the Brownie box camera was in those days.
Wow.
And I think at one time I had the camera as well. I don't know what happened to it.
Isn't that one of those boxes you haven't opened up yet?
That could be. I might have tossed it when we. That seems unlikely, but yeah, maybe when we cleaned my mother's house out, we. Yeah, there are things I haven't come across that I must have tossed. It's hard to believe. But it was one of these photographs from the mid-1930s shows a lamp in their living room, and I said, if I don't still have that lamp, I threw it out within the last decade. And the second, then the other lamp in the room I had too, and just got rid of recently. I had that in the amazing. I see a bookcase, 1930. There's a bookcase in the background, and I just moved that bookcase from the attic downstairs last week.
Well, that's the tough thing about throwing things out. As soon as you throw it out, you're going to need it.
Yeah.
You're going to be looking for it.
I never throw out bookcases because you never have enough bookcases. Books? You don't know how many loads of books I brought down from the attic. Oh my God. Anyway, that's mostly what I've been doing. What have you been doing?
Well, we went to New Jersey this past weekend for a bagpipe competition.
How'd it come out?
They came in third, which was really good with considering the competition. They got up against a couple of their big nemesis down there, and they equated themselves well. Now, there's two things about New Jersey that are interesting. One, you pay 40 cents less per gallon of gasoline.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
We drove around as much as we could to empty it out, so fill it back up to get back up here.
Right, that's right.
It's only $3.40 for gas down there.
Only.
And they have service stations, which means you go in, you get your car filled up, and the guy fills it up for you and
checks your oil.
Cleans your windshield.
Cleans your windshield. Wow.
Misha, I had to explain.
Well, it's actually the law in New Jersey. They were, I don't know, somebody complained that they were losing too many jobs, so they require full service automobiles. There's no self-service allowed in the state of New Jersey.
And I had to explain to Misha what was going on, and explain to him that's how it used to be, and that's how a lot of high school kids got through high school back then, because you had service station and you did the same thing.
Well, you remember it's the first scene in The Past and Back to the Future,
yes.
when he ends up and he goes to this gas station, and these guys all come out, the team of guys come out, check the oil, clean your windshield, polish your shoes.
Yeah, it was.
And he's just looking there mystified. And then he bought the Coke, and he tried to unscrew the top, and they didn't know how to open it. The kids who weren't born growing up in the 50s, they don't know what they missed.
The other thing we found that was very interesting is there was another family, and us went to dinner Friday night, and not only do they include the gratuity in your bill, they figured the tax on top of the bill, including the gratuity.
Oh my God!
So
that made up for the gas.
That made up for the gas. I said, Then I had to explain to Misha why they have the gratuity added in and how much it was and why they do that.
Well, there's no explanation for that.
Well, they want to make sure they're getting their 15% on there, and I said, you give a gratuity based upon quality of service. The better the service, the bigger the tip. But sometimes in New York State, you go out in a party of 10, they include the gratuity, make sure they don't get gypped there, And so it was a real learning experience for me.
Well, do you think this was it because of the size of your party, or they just do it for everybody?
6 of us. I don't think so. It doesn't sound like they do that, but we did notice that when we got it. You had the bill, you had the gratuity, and then you had the tax on top of that. I'm thinking, they got a little extra tax money for the state of New York doing it that way. But other than that, we had a great time.
Don't give them any ideas.
Yeah. So we had a good time. Came back Saturday night. We paid all the tolls we were required to pay coming back this time.
Same car?
No, I took another car.
Good idea.
Yeah, and took a roll of quarters. Make sure. And the other thing, how nice the roads in New Jersey were. They lacked that certain New York State pothole effect that we have here on even some of our better highways. Of course, the winters aren't as tough down there as they are here. You don't get the heaving, the freezing, and that we get up here. But there is certainly a better quality of road that we rode on down there than we are accustomed to.
I would say that for all the complaints we have about paying tolls on the thruway, that's still like the best maintained road in the country, I think.
It's well maintained.
You ever drive in Pennsylvania? Absolutely the worst in the country.
Well, when we went to Kentucky, we came back through Pennsylvania. We knew when we got to Pennsylvania and when we left Pennsylvania. When we started hearing the thump, 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 thump,
right.
We knew we were out of Pennsylvania.
The whole way of the state.
Yeah. Definitely was. And that's something that people see their tax dollars doing. Repairing the roads and maintaining the roads. That's one of our expectations, that we have good roads. Obviously, Pennsylvania must have something else very good, because they don't put it into the roads, but I can't tell you what that might be down there. That is so good to make up for the crummy roads that they have.
For their interstates to be so bad, and I'm including their toll highways. The Pennsylvania Turnpike is no better, and it's constantly under repair. It's always backed up 10 miles, and it's a terrible road. Oh well, that's enough for denouncing Pennsylvania. Let's see what's been going on locally. Any wild controversies since high school graduation?
Since the graduation, no. I noticed that I read somewhere that they're behind in the overlook construction. Their behind is going to cost more than they anticipated it.
Oh, I got to tell you, I don't know where Jerry Scrocky drags these things out of, but his photographs and story, his photojournalism story about the artwork that they need to raise money for is absolutely appalling, actually. Well, we need to raise $400,000 so that we can have a compass. What? What?
Going south to north. What more?
This will focus everything. You know, the whole baloney that goes with it. I was going to say bullshit, but
you don't say that on the radio.
I can't say that on the radio. We're pretending we're on the radio today.
It's just,
what was the other one? The dome thing?
That
looked like those things you used to put in your garden, right?
Yeah. And I think it's going to turn into everything people knew it was going to turn into, but we're told, no, it's not going to be that.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be something else. It's going to be...
Fiasco.
Yeah, fiasco,
Of the first order.
Yeah. They must plan these fiascos because there's no government project that ever comes in under budget. They always say it's going to cost this much. Well, you better add your 15 to 20% gratuity on top of it to make sure you get up to the actual cost.
Well, they did that when they estimated $16.5 million, I hope. I mean, I remember rolling over in laughter when they said, well, yeah, we can't get to Main Street for $16.5 million. Really? Holy moly. Somebody, it's probably Michael, suggested, why don't we put those gondolas, the sky gondolas, and crossing the river? That'd be terrific. You'd do it for a whole lot less money.
If you can put them into Hershey Park, I'll put it into the Mohawk River.
Right.
You
get a better view.
A better view. You'll be able to see further.
If what you want is an overlook, what more of an overlook could you ask for? Plus, you could get to Main Street.
Yeah.
Take it to the, use some of that $800,000 you're putting in the motel and.
Motel. Yeah. That's
incredible.
That's progressing quite nicely too.
So here's one that just kind of popped up on Facebook. Somebody commented on how the Sassafras Safari is not in very good shape. And that's the park built over by the Bacon School.
Yeah, up in Henrietta Heights.
How long ago? 20 years ago? More? 30 years ago?
Nah, I'm thinking because Carrie and Todd were
toddlers.
And we went over and helped do it. So we were playing ball with Skiba's because most guys from Skiba were there. So I'm thinking it's got the early
before 1990, 88 maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say around 85.
85, okay.
Okay.
Quite a while ago now.
95, 15, so it's
shy of 30 years, but
more or less
not
30
much.
years. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, certainly in the planning 30 years ago. Yeah. All right. Now, it's hard to believe, isn't it? I worked on that too. It's hard to believe it was that long ago.
Yeah. You had 3/4 of the city up there working on it.
Wow. And, really, hundreds of people worked on it.
Yeah, there were.
A very well organized thing. Now, they got some kind of grants to do this.
Mm-hmm.
The original idea was, well, first of all, it was built on city property adjacent to school district property, and certainly, pretty adjacent to the Bacon School.
Yes.
But it was built on city property, but the city did not build it.
No.
It was, the money was funneled through the city, but the city never accepted it as a park, nor intended to.
Mm-hmm.
It was built with this grant, with money left over for maintenance of it. And the idea was that title to the whole thing was going to be turned over to this foundation that they had formed for that purpose. I think it was called the Amsterdam Foundation or something like that. Well, the foundation never got off the ground. They never actually created a functioning foundation. They may have filed the papers initially, but there was no officers, okay, so it's a foundation in name only.
It wasn't organized.
Yeah, and I think it was eventually abolished by the Attorney General because nobody filed the annual papers, and it just kind of faded away. Now, for quite a few years, the original people behind it, that took charge of the project, would organize once a year, in the spring, people to come and clean up, work on it, put some coating on the wood, and tighten up the nuts and bolts and things like that. And this went on for a number of years, and eventually the people who started it started growing old like us, and their kids grew up, and the Bacon School closed, and nobody was in charge. And I mean nobody. The school district, while the school was open, either the school district or the PTA at Bacon kind of took responsibility.
Yeah, well, we whacked it and took the weeds out.
Yeah. I mean, even so far as mowing it became a question. So there came a point when I was corporation counsel at a meeting with people from the school district and the recreation department, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the school district was saying, we don't want to do this anymore. We think you should be doing it. And I said, I don't know what this meeting is about. Here's the contract right here. It's nothing to do with us.
It belonged to somebody who was no longer there.
So, and actually some of the people who had been on the original project were at this meeting too. So it kind of remained in limbo. I don't know at this point who mows the grass up there. I think the recreation department finally took some responsibility for that. But beyond that, nothing has been done, and the money for the maintenance is still sitting in a fund in the controller's office. I bring this up because when it was brought up on Facebook, I put in what I knew about the history of the project and what the problem was. And I said, I don't know what's happened in the last few years since I left, obviously. Then the mayor responds that, why only last week? She was speaking to the recreation department about that. And because of all the problems with the books in the controller's office, we haven't been able to access these funds, and we're working aggressively on this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it was a separate fund, It's decide what you're going to do and write a check, Simple as that. Fact is, they've done nothing about it for the last 6 years, and we did nothing about it either because we didn't think it was our responsibility. At this point,
where would the money be able to be put? Where could the money go? What could they do with it?
Well, I think you really need to go in there and sand down the wood and things like that. Make sure that make sure all those little river stones are where they belong. It's not like it's a ghost town. It's used regularly, but it's getting splintery.
Yeah.
And that's the type of thing that should be done on a regular basis, if not every year, every couple of years, and then you put the coat of that waterproofing stuff. What do you call it? I don't know.
Creosote? Creosote?
No, not creosote. No, not creosote. You know, the stuff you buy in the can. What do you call it? I don't know.
Waterproofing stuff.
Waterproofing stuff, and you know, do all that, and really go through, and you know, the tires that are broken and the stuff, they take them out, put new fresh stuff in. If they're, you know, the signs need to be painted. You know, I don't think it's that big a deal. But routine maintenance can go a long way toward making that a beautiful park again. You know, and when it was put in, every piece of wood that went in there was sanded down and smoothed over and coated, and you know, you may have to replace a few slats here and there. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, it's little things like that that make a community either nice or crappy.
Yeah, because people notice. And if it's something that's in ill repair, people say, well, you know, what's going on? They can't even take care of something like that. Can't take care of the small things.
Well, here's my suggestion. Well, there are two ways of looking at it. You know, maybe. I mean, I like the concept of a private foundation doing it because, you know, the city's going to ignore it over time, as it's ignored everything else. Look at all those parks you guys used to work at in the olden days.
Of which we have.
How many of them are even left? And certainly there hasn't been a park attendant in decades now. Yeah. Veterans
Field's the only one that really is. And most of the things that were there are gone. I mean, the slides and the swing sets and the teeter-totters, that what they used to be up there. You know, there's nothing.
Probably some lawyer got rid of those, huh?
Well, yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't even. Yeah, I mean, look.
The things that kids aren't allowed to do today.
You know, we had the monkey bars. We had the jungle. You know, down at Harmon's, you had jungle gym, monkey bars. You had teeter-totters. You had those huge swings. I mean, you could get up way high in those things. You know, you had the basketball hoop down there. You had the shuffleboard down there. You had the little swing for the little kids.
Is there a basketball hoop anywhere? I don't think there is now. I don't think there's an outdoor hoop anyplace.
Veterans Field's got them.
Really?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. Yeah, that's where they play the wishful thinking 3-on-3 tournament they have up at Veterans Field. They got the hoops at the middle school.
Right, but that's school district.
Yeah, but the hoops up in vets are the ones. They get used quite regularly. Remember, they had the issue up there.
That's right.
Kids are making noises.
That's right.
You know, and now they're making disruption in the street, so all the street hoops have to come out.
Okay. I knew there was something that was annoying me. We've been off so long.
So many things have come up.
So many things have come up. The Common Council passed that ordinance banning street basketball. You know, I'm 63 years old. They hand me the senior menu when I go to a diner. Okay. I should be at that cranky old age.
Yeah.
That stuff doesn't bother me at all. Those kids down on Clinton Street all last summer.
When they see you coming, they get out of the way.
They get out of the way, and you know, a hot day, they had that hose going so that running right through the hoop, so they'd cool off every time they went in for a layup. You know, may have flooded the street a little bit. So they're kids having fun. So what? You know, well, they slowed us down. You know, we had to stop and wait for them to get out of the way. You know, the whole world would be better off if we all just laid back and sang Simon and Garfunkel. Slow down, you move too fast. You got to make the morning last. Just
kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Feeling groovy.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just relax, will you?
The kids playing in the street don't bother me. Families walking down the middle of the street is a different issue, but kids playing, we played in the street when we were kids. Up on the heights, we played touch football in the middle of the street. We had a hoop. Tom Powers had a hoop that was, his dad had put up. It was facing on the street on Fairmount that we played on. You know, we played wiffle ball in the street.
Wiffle ball.
Wiffle ball. Yeah, we played wiffle ball in the street. You know, we rode our bikes in the street.
I spent my early youth years in Westmere outside of Albany on a dead-end street, right? And the dead-end street...
Is that like a cul-de-sac?
It was not. It did not rise to a cul-de-sac.
Oh.
It was simply a dead-end street.
Dead end.
And a matter of fact, at the end of the street was the farmland of King of the Melons. And I remember...
Is that because of the way his daughter looked?
We snuck into the field one day, you know, crawling. Oh God, I couldn't have been 6 years old.
Like Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, yes, just like that. So we're sneaking in there among the watermelons, and all of a sudden, King of the Melons himself rises up and he says, "Get out of there!" And we ran like hell. You know, that's. I remember that to this day. King of the Melons later sold out to Price Chopper. They put a big Price Chopper on this. And then that's gone now too. I don't know, I think it was an office building or something. So that was King of the Melons in the Pine Bush area of Albany. Anyway, there on our end of the street, well, on the corner there was a family with one kid and he had a fenced-in yard, but there was us with 4 kids at the time. And down a couple doors down, somebody else with a couple of kids. So the rest of the street was filled with cranky widows, a childless couple.
Oh,
Yeah,
sad.
a middle-aged childless. Anyway, they were surrounded by
Them.
And let me tell you, if you played wiffle ball in the street, on this dead-end street, and the ball ran into their yard, they would not only not allow you to come on the yard to get the ball, the one woman next door would run out of her door, grab the ball, and run back in the house.
Kind of like Sandlot with Hercules.
Yeah, sort of. Yes.
Some these are people doing it.
These are people doing it. These are cranky, miserable people who hated kids. Yeah, you know, how can you hate kids? How can you hate kids having fun? How can you let that bother you?
You know, at least they're having fun. They're doing something as opposed to doing something else.
Yeah. To me, it's everybody just relax and you know. And where does it stop? Well,
the kids have nothing to do now. We find something somewhat credible to do, and we say no, you can't do that.
It gives me pleasure to see kids having fun. You know?
Happy faces.
Happy faces. What's wrong with that? You're not happy, that's your problem. You know? Maybe you should go out and play basketball. And I'm not one who ever played basketball in the street. I never did, but
played in a few driveways up on Market Hill.
But you know, I've had, you know, when I was a young lawyer, somebody came into my office and wanted me to write a letter to several of the parents in the neighborhood. I said, "What's the problem?" Well, they're playing football in the yard next to our house. In your yard? No, in their own yard. But they're playing football. They're playing football, Mr. Goen. They're making noise. Yeah. You know, with somebody else, the same kind of thing. Yeah. Well, these kids are rude to me. Why don't you give them some cookies and milk? You know. I don't get it. I don't get it.
No. Every neighborhood's has got one like that. That kind of.
Some of them have a lot of them.
Okay.
Anyway,
I
was kind of hoping the mayor would veto that one, but I don't think she did. At least I haven't heard that she did. Yeah.
See, some of the houses that the Buddhists took over raised a little controversy here in the community. There's a disagreement of what they've done and what they're going to do and what they should have done.
Well, you'll recall the mayor welcoming them with open arms and selling them everything in sight because she fully believed that they were going to invest $1 billion in the community.
And get everything back on the tax roll.
Yeah. And she said, if they invest $1 billion, I will never be defeated.
That's probably true. I don't think anybody would have been defeated if they invested $1 billion.
The thing, she believes all these things. It never questions the
practicality.
The practicality of it. And now, of course, now they're at different ends of the spectrum on this. She's no longer posing in her yoga pose. And they keep calling them the Buddhists, but they are not a religious organization. They are not a Buddhist organization. They are people who happen to be Buddhists, who are in the World Peace and Health Organization, which is a not-for-profit whose aims are to improve people's health through meditation or something. But it's not a religious group. I go to Mass at the shrine last week, and walking down the first driveway, the back driveway to the Coliseum, is a couple of Chinese people carrying a sign in kind of broken English, tell priest, let us have our road, or something like that. So they're like protesting on the shrine property. It may be they told them to go somewhere else and why they were walking down the road, but they're carrying the sign down the road. And this is all they want something apparently for free that they didn't pay for, which is access to the road.
Right.
They gave them a 5-year access to the road, and I think they let them go longer than the 5 years. But comes a point where you either enforce your right or you lose it.
Abdicate it. Yep.
And now, well, it's terrible what the Jesuits are doing. The Jesuits are broke. Okay, they're ready to close the shrine if they don't raise the money they need. So the last thing they need is this nonsense. This is what you agreed to. You're going to build your own road. It's going to go that way, not this way. What's the issue? I don't understand what the issue is. Well, they should be nicer to us. Oh, okay. All right. This is business. Anyway. So now they've turned over so many of their properties to a dummy organization. Another not-for-profit, apparently. And they either do or they don't know who the person is who,
they have or
who's
they have
not
not talked
paying the
to him.
taxes
They've
on it.
talked to him or they haven't talked to him.
Yeah.
Don't know how we talked to him because we don't know where he is.
I don't even see the point. If they don't want to pay the taxes on it, don't pay the taxes on it. They lose it for taxes. Why do they have to turn it over to somebody else so they can pretend that it's somebody else who's not paying the taxes and not them who's not paying the taxes? What's the point?
And it's not like they don't have money, because they do have money, this organization.
They do, whether they have as much money as
They claim they do.
claim they had, I don't know.
And they're obviously not contractors, since some of the description of some of the contracted work done on some of these homes are not quite up to snuff.
Look, the stuff they got was in such crappy shape that it's amazing that they really thought they could do something. But they were planning on apparently moving a lot of Chinese people in here. I got no problem with that. You know, more people live here, sure, what the heck. But that didn't happen.
Oh, no. Guess the homes were in more disrepair than they are in China.
And if they did this as an investment, it's a bad investment. Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody gave them some bad advice.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a culty thing anyway. So. Anyway, I mean, I wish them well, but, you know, do it on your own dime.
Yeah.
Not mine.
Yeah. Don't borrow my money to fix something up that belongs to me.
Yeah.
The casino has raised some controversy. Got some people coming out opposed to it.
Yeah, there seem to be almost equal numbers of people on either side of the street. Those the dueling protests the other day. It broke up in the rain, and really of course here's another thing that if this is true, if what I think it was Dan Weaver said is true, the city paid for those pro-casino signs. That came out of the city tax dollars. That's outrageous. I don't care if the city council approved it and the mayor approves it. You don't spend tax dollars supporting what is in effect a private group. Not in effect, it is a private group. Right?
Yeah,
if the if the people who are putting up the casino want to pay for the signs, I got no problem with that. I don't care if the mayor carries one,
Or a private organization wants to do it, but
to spend city tax dollars on that, I don't care what it costs. I don't care if it costs $20. That's $20 that was improperly spent. And you see anybody in the Common Council even mention it? No, because they're for the casino. So what the heck? So they're all in on it, and it's terrible. It's terrible.
That's good.
But meanwhile, the big thing is that all these reports of the casinos around the country closing, like a third of the ones in Atlantic City. Now the Trump Plaza, whatever it is.
Yep, that was the big news down in Jersey this weekend. We were there that they had closed Trump Plaza down there and had been losing, millions over the last X number of years. And it's, it is a niche business, casinos. There is a certain clientele that frequent them and drop their money there because it's not everybody. It's not like it's a big amusement park where you can bring families from all over because they got the rides and stuff. It's a gambling place, and there's only so much money in an area that's going to go to gambling, and is enough of that money going to come here to make the one here, here or Capital District, to make it keep it viable? Is it? Is it?
It's unless they get more people involved in the vice, there's no, it's like somebody explained to me one time, we were talking about Amsterdam, and he was saying the addition of as people have more and more disposable income, they're able to dispose of it more.
That's right.
But there are certain things that are not going to make a net difference. Okay, you put a Walmart in, and you're going to get a lot of people who might otherwise have driven to somewhere else, and they'll be spending their money here. You put another supermarket in, it makes very little difference other than the competition. It makes very little difference because there's only so much food that people will eat.
That's right. That's
right? Even if they're wealthier.
That's right.
It's even if they have more disposable income, they're not going to buy more food. They're not going to eat more food. So So having 5 supermarkets instead of 3 is not much of a net for the local economy.
No, because you're still dividing into 5 instead of into 3.
Right.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, other kind of retail outlets, that's a different story. Anyway, it all comes down to basic Adam Smith economics, it seems to me. And that is that if you want the area to grow and prosper, what you need to encourage is businesses that increase wealth one way or another, either through products or services or manufacturing or whatever, that they perform some function that increases the overall wealth of the community. You don't get that with gambling. All that is taking the capital and giving it to somebody else. The capital is not used to make something else better.
Right.
So
their hope is that there'll be enough people who already gamble that go other places would come to gamble here instead of going someplace else. So, you know, would a casino do some good here? Yeah, it's not going to be the be-all and end-all of the change in economic fortune here, but hopefully there would be it could be an anchor point from which other things would spring that would bring in monies and opportunities here. You know, and my opinion is right now I think anything is going to help us more than what we have now because we really don't have a whole lot here.
As I've said, I got no problem with it. Just don't expect anything great to happen as a result of it, if it comes at all. Which I mean, and I got to tell you, the idea of 2 more golf courses in an area that can't support any is, unless they're planning on buying the Muni and Rolling Hills, those would be their 2 golf courses.
Yeah, and the fact that you has such a narrow window up here for golf.
Yeah.
You know, my son down in Lexington, Kentucky, he plays, except for maybe the end of December and beginning of January, he can play nearly all year long. So those places are having people coming here. You know, you get April to September, maybe. You know, you don't have that vast window that is functioning all year. It's a seasonal opportunity.
One year, Uncle Si played into January when we didn't have any snow, but he only paid to October.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Because there's nobody else up there after that.
Right.
Yeah.
There's nobody. So after that, golfing was free. So he took full advantage of it.
Yeah. But well, hope it works out, and hope we get something coming in here. You know, it'd be good. Share the wealth, share the taxes. Actually, is what you're looking for. More people to contribute.
I mean, most of the support seems to be coming from the city, and I don't see where the city's getting much out of this tax dollar wise. The county and the school district will, but I don't think the city's going to get anything other than the water and sewer rates. Services, but I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
Because virtually none of it's in the city limits.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Hawks are doing good.
Yeah, they are. They're doing very well.
Games.
Getting good crowds up there still.
Yeah.
The major leagues are taking a hiatus for a couple of days.
What's that?
The major leagues are taking a hiatus for a couple of days for the annual All-Star break.
Yeah.
And hopefully it won't rain on them tonight.
Is tonight the All-Star game? Or
tonight's All-Star. Last night was the home run derby.
Oh, I missed that entirely.
You could have seen it probably still this morning because it was nearly an hour late getting started because of rain. And it was still going at 11:30 last night.
Wow.
You know, the first couple of years it was on, I thought, yeah, that's really neat. You know what? It's nothing. It's a drag. You know, when you and I were growing up, they used to have home run derby shown on the weekend with the stars of Major League going head to head with each other. You know, you had Mantle, Mays, Adcock, Gentile, Snyder, Kaline, Colavito, Aaron Robinson, Frank. You know, and it was
Ralph Kiner.
Ralph Kiner. It was interesting, you know, to see that, because again, it was didn't oversaturate the market.
Right.
You know, and here they build it up to such a high level that nothing's going to reach that high level of expectation, and they don't even have the top home run hitters competing every year. It's, you know, who's the fan favorite, we're going to put him in, you know.
It's had a tendency to knock them out for the
second part of the season,
next few weeks, or the rest of the season. Yeah.
You know, but they cut back your outs. You only get 7 outs instead of 10 outs.
And it was still going to 11:30.
Well, because it got started late because of rain. So, but they've also changed it. All right, you got 3 guys from the after the first round. The top 3 guys from each league advance. Okay, and then you get put in brackets. So you've got 2 guys from National League going head to head, 2 guys from American League going head to head, and the top guy who finished from each league gets a bye into the next round. So it's like a basketball bracket, and then whoever wins the head to head.
That sounds too confusing. Yeah.
Well, it is. Okay, I didn't figure it out till about 11 o'clock. You know, and then you have an American League guy, a winner from their bracket, going against a National League winner from that bracket, head to head, and see. You know, Yasiel Puig, you know, currently one of the top hitters in the National League. He didn't hit any home runs. He was done after the first 7 outs. He was done. Somebody else, you know,
probably on orders.
Do you know Todd Frazier?
No.
Oh, I didn't either. He played second base for Minnesota. He was in it. How about Dozier?
No, I know Bill Dozier used to.
That's Bill DeRocher. Yeah, he's been in the Boy Scouts. Yeah. I had never heard of him either. He was in it. You know. So we didn't watch much of it. We were watching 24.
Big Papi's not even in the All-Star game.
Big Papi's not even in the All-Star game. No, he's not.
Now, that's absurd. First of all, a lot of it is, you know, based on what he did last year, and you know, and obviously the first half of this year. What he did last year was absolutely spectacular.
What have you done for me lately?
Yeah, jeez.
Jeter made the starting team. Batting .271.
Yeah, because it's a farewell thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know,
but not Papi. Come on. I mean, there's never been a better designated hitter ever.
And I'm going to be off a little bit on this, but it's like 35 guys from each league on the All-Star team. Okay, 35 guys. So it's 70 major leaguers on the. How elite is this?
Yeah, right. Well, of course, you have the rule that there has to be
somebody from every team.
Someone from every team, no matter how crummy the team is.
Or how crummy the guy is.
Or how crummy the guy is.
He's just the best of the crummy.
Right.
You know, but that is always like that. You know, of course
But there's more teams than ever.
There's more teams.
How many teams are there now?
I think there's 32. I think. Let's see, 4, 8, 12, 7. It might be 30. Yeah, it's got an even number, so I think it's 32 teams. So right off the rip, taking one guy from every team, you got 32 guys. Then some teams have some all-stars that get added. So maybe it's more. Maybe it's 42 guys on a team. I don't know.
Red Sox are world champions, and they put one pitcher and then one replacement pitcher on the.
That's all he got.
That's all they've got.
Pedroia didn't make it.
No.
And everybody.
That guy wins 20 games a year on his defense, for God's sake.
And if I'm not mistaken,
of course I didn't.
They try to get everybody in the game too. Okay. Well, when they had, you know, again, it's when we were kids.
When we were kids,
the starters started and played, and Mays didn't like getting taken out of the All-Star game. nor did Roberto Clemente, nor did Hank Aaron,
nor did Ted Williams.
You know, these guys played the whole thing. You know, there was guys who made the All-Star team that didn't get in. All right, this
Went on their resume.
They put on the resume that they were on the All-Star team. Now they try to get everybody in. They burn all their players in 9 innings. You remember what happened that one year? They had a tie because they ran out of pitchers because they pitch every pitcher an inning, and then they were done and went in extra innings. You know, it's just, you know, it's all about money. Is what they're doing.
Was it 99 when Pedro Martinez started and went 3 innings and struck out all but one of the people he faced?
Might have been that year, but yeah.
Yeah. And he was worthless the rest of the season. As a matter of fact, that was almost like the end of his career. Geez.
The All-Star game is...
Hey, what time are we getting to be here?
I
forgot we're only going an hour today.
Getting to be about 8 minutes left in the show.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I see you have your book with you.
Well, you know what? Our radio show got put on hiatus at a time when I had the perfect date to do the show because we had the anniversary of the Battle of Saipan.
Yeah.
And an awful lot of guys from Amsterdam were there. You know, Company G from the Armory was a part of the 27th Division. Their captain was Frank Olander, spelled with an A at the beginning, not the an O at the beginning, but not not Olender like the furniture store. It's Olander. This guy was an incredible leader and hero, and I don't see that he was recognized for any of it officially, because I think there was no other officers around to. But he just does one incredibly brave thing after another. Jeepers! I mean, he ends up at one point grabbing a samurai sword and slashing the Japanese who are attacking him. And that's just nothing. Anyway, the big deal happens early on July 7th. And that is the final Japanese bonsai, not bonsai. That's little trees. The bonsai charge, or did I get it backwards? I don't know. Bonsai with a Z. Yes. There's 3,000 or 4,000 Japanese soldiers left, and well, the story tells itself. In charge of the naval operations on the island is Vice Admiral Nagumo, who has been kind of exiled to Saipan. He was the guy in charge of the Pearl Harbor attack, but he was also the guy in charge of Midway. And after Midway, the Midway disaster,
guys, 1 for 2.
Yeah, well. The Japanese don't look at it that way. Now one day he's the hero, the next day he's the goat. So he's the goat. They send him to Saipan, and I'm going to sneeze here, if you don't mind, folks. Or I'm not. Oh. I'm just talking about it. Anyway, General Saito, S-A-I-T-O, is the commander of the armed forces. Vice Admiral Nagumo joins General Saito on the evening of July 5th for a ceremonial farewell dinner of canned crab meat and sake. Saito prepares a message to be delivered to all his remaining officers the following morning, July 6th. This is Saito. I am addressing the officers and men of the Imperial Army on Saipan. For more than 20 days, the American devils attacked the officers, men, and civilian employees of the Imperial Army and Navy on this island have fought well and bravely. Everywhere they have demonstrated the honor and glory of the Imperial forces. I expected that every man would do his duty. Heaven has not given us an opportunity. We have not been able to utilize fully the terrain. We have fought in unison up to the present time, but now we have no materials with which to fight, and artillery for attack has been completely destroyed. Our comrades have fallen one after another. Despite the bitterness of defeat, we pledge 7 lives to repay our country. That's in quotes. That's a philosophy they had, that each man about to commit a suicide charge has to take out seven of the enemy. Of course, the odds were exactly the opposite at the end, but what do they know? The barbarous attack of the enemy is being continued. Even though the enemy has occupied only a corner of Saipan, we are dying without avail under the violent shelling and bombing. Whether we attack or whether we stay where we are, there is only death. However, in death there is life. We must utilize this opportunity to exalt true Japanese manhood. I will advance with those who remain to deliver still another blow to the American devils and leave my bones on Saipan as a bulwark of the Pacific. As it says in the Senjikun, I will never suffer the disgrace of being taken alive, and I will offer up the courage of my soul and calmly rejoice in living by the eternal principle. Here I pray with you for the eternal life of the Emperor and the welfare of the country, and I advance to seek out the enemy. Follow me! Then he goes and commits suicide. Nobody followed him. With the message go orders for all to assemble at 1800 on July 6th, with the attack to begin at 2200. 2 hours after the orders are read, at 1000 on July 6th, Saito sits on a rock and faces east and shouts, "Tenno Heike Banzai!" in praise of his emperor, and cuts an artery with his sword, while an aide shoots him in the head. In a cave nearby, Nagumo, the victor of Pearl Harbor and vanquished of Midway, does the same. The forward lines on the night of July 6th have the 2nd Battalion of the 105th, which is what Company G is in, minus Company G. On the left beach side with the 1st Battalion called up in that afternoon to the right. These are all guys from the Capital District.
Right.
With railroad tracks between them, about 1,200 yards south of the village. 400 yards behind them is the 105th Command Post, and northeast of them, just behind the front lines, the 3rd Battalion of the 10th Marines. But then there's this wide gap between the 1st Battalion, that separates the 1st Battalion from Company G. And it's getting dark, and they can't find a way to close it, even though they've put in several requests almost up to midnight. The Japanese attack is delayed, presumably for logistical reasons. What sake is available is distributed among the men. Any wounded who can walk are ordered into line. The rest are ordered to commit suicide or are killed. There are insufficient weapons left, so men approach the line of battle with handguns, swords, bayonets, sharpened sticks, rocks, and themselves. At 0400, that's 4 in the morning, our time, they run down both sides of the tracks and 25 yards on each side. A third line comes down the base of a cliff on the edge of the plain, exploiting the gap between Company G, our guys, and the 1st Battalion. Company E's Captain Clinton Smith. This is a Schenectady group. Clinton Smith is one of the veterans of Company G, who had marched away with them in 1940, meets the challenge at the head of his men. He is among the first to fall, wounded in both legs, facing the enemy. Some dozen of his men surround him as thousands of Japanese race toward them. Smith orders them to fall back and leave them behind. He does not survive. Amsterdam guy. The 1st and 2nd Battalions are overwhelmed in minutes, with all organization broken down and every man for himself. Fighting is hand to hand. Major Edward McCarthy of the 2nd Battalion later reports, "It was like the movie stampede staged in the Wild West movies. We were the cameramen. Those Japs just kept coming and coming and didn't stop. It didn't make any difference if you shot one, 5 more would take his place." As the light rises, Company G watches with amazement. They're on the side of the hill. Says Technical Sergeant John Polakowski. Did you ever see the outside of a circus tent about the time the evening show is over? That's just the way it was. It reminded me of circus grounds, or maybe it was Yankee Stadium. The crowd just milled on the field, pushing and shoving and yelling and shouting. There were so many of them you could just shut your eyes and pull the trigger on your rifle and you'd bound to hit 3 or 4 with one shot. Some of the men in the 2nd Battalion flee into the surf and swim to a reef where they are later rescued. Exploiting the gap, the Japs get behind the 1st Battalion and attack from the rear. Major McCarthy reorganizes the men into a second perimeter and they fight on for 4 more hours before again falling back. 4 hours. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Colonel William O'Brien reestablishes the 1st Battalion at the front. He inspires his men with a pistol firing from each hand until a shoulder wound limits the use of one arm. He leaps into a Jeep and operates its .50 caliber machine gun, mowing down the Japs trying to take it away from him until he runs out of ammo. Grabbing a saber from one, he swings away until he himself is finally cut to pieces. Next to his body lie 30 dead Japanese. He is posthumously awarded one of 3 Congressional Medals of Honor earned that day by the 105th Battalion. 105th Regiment, rather. The 1st Battalion's the 1st Battalion Sergeant Thomas Baker remains on the front lines, even with part of his foot blown off. He uses his empty weapon as a club until another soldier picks him up to carry him away. The rescuer then is himself wounded, and a second continues the rescue until he is wounded as well. Baker will not allow anyone else to move him, ordering his men to prop him up against a pole with a pistol containing 8 bullets and a cigarette. They find his body later with an empty pistol and 8 dead Japs. The other hand holds a partially burned cigarette. The 105th Second Medal of Honor. Captain Ben Solomon is by profession a dentist from Los Angeles, serving as regimental surgeon for the 2nd Battalion. Soon after the battle begins, he has 30 wounded men crowded into his aid tent. The Japanese begin to overrun his position, and he sees one bayoneting a patient. Dr. Solomon squats and kills him. 2 more appear at the tent entrance. They are dispatched. 4 more crawl under the tent wall. Solomon kicks the knife out of one's hand, shoots another, bayonets a third, then butts the 4th in the stomach while a wounded man shoots him. Solomon orders the wounded to evacuate as best they can to the regimental aid station while he fights a rearguard action to protect his patient's retreat. He then grabs a rifle from one of the wounded and joins the battle, taking control of a machine gun after 4 American operators are killed. As the dead pile up, he has to move the gun 4 times to maintain a field of vision. There are 98 dead Japs in front of his body. The 3rd Medal of Honor. This is a dentist. Meanwhile, on the little nose at the mouth of Harry Carey Gulch, the boys of Company G are no longer casual observers. Though exposed on 3 sides, they also have excellent fields of fire. They will need them. A light machine gun on the nose covers the mouth of the gulch, while another across the road and to the left prevents any movement along the base of the escarpment. The latter, with a squad of riflemen, lies outside the company perimeter. They can hear the sound like a cattle herd, and when darkness lifts shortly after 0500, they can see the advancing Japs. An initial group of about 300 are heading toward them. Captain Olander orders firing to commence immediately, and at first no enemy is able to advance within 300 yards of their position. Most are killed or scattered in minutes. But the enemy is constantly reinforced, and the duel continues for another hour. Between 0700 and 0800, there is little opportunity to check their watches for the benefits of historians. Small raiding parties begin to hit the left flank, seeking to knock out the light machine gun across the perimeter. They get close enough to toss grenades. Sergeant Nicholas Graziano requests permission to move the LMG within the company perimeter, but it is hit before he can move. Technical Sergeant Polakowski, in charge of the platoon lowest on the hill, orders his men back 10 yards, and they gain 10 feet in height, but lose a man. Graziano loses his gunner and another man. The Company G men are firing fast and furious. A sniper kills 2 of them and wounds a third. It is now 0800, and Olander is running short of ammo. It becomes the old whites of their eyes stuff, as one man later puts it. Japs take cover behind the overturned tank from the previous day and begin tossing grenades. And now begins a deadly game of catch, with each side tossing the grenades back toward the other. By 0830, casualties are heavy. 5 Company G men are seriously wounded. One of them is their captain. Olander has his arm nearly blown off. He calmly applies a tourniquet above the break and continues directing the defense for the next 3 hours. Between 1100 and 1130 there is silence, and then a rain of knee mortar shells hits them. Frank Olander collapses at last from the loss of blood and is evacuated, while Company Executive Officer Lieutenant George O'Donnell assumes command. What's left of Company G withdraws 75 to 100 yards from the rear and digs in with Company L. Incredible stuff. And then the Marine Commandant, not the Commandant, but the Marine General in charge of the whole operation, makes a report calling the 105th Regiment and the whole 27th Division cowards. My Marines had to stop. They're yellow, he says. They're not aggressive. They just held up the battle and caused my Marines casualties. He claims that they were attacked by 300 enemies supported by 2 or 3 tanks. And all the reports show there were 3,000 to 4,000. He gets Robert Sherrod from Time Magazine to write up a report
in favor of the Marines,
calling the 27th Division the cowards. So, yeah. The boys of Company G, after all they have sacrificed and endured, have now been branded cowards. And then come the telegrams. Staff Sergeant Peter Sanson, 26, 216 Florida Avenue. A member of Company G who had not been home in nearly 4 years since they marched out of the armory, killed in action, Saipan. Private First Class Paul Sierrota of Amsterdam RD5, Company G, an employee of Mohawk Carpet Mills, killed in action. Sergeant Edward Gullenbuski, 2 Wren Street, Company G, killed in action. Private First Class Daniel Sluzars, killed in action. Captain Clinton Smith, killed in action. Sergeant Karowski, killed in action. Private First Class Stanley Soltis, USMC, killed in action. Corporal Victor Fondacaro, killed in action, Marines. And the wounded, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Company G is no longer just an Amsterdam group, but has been expanded and augmented by other troops to bring them up to regulation strength. The expanded Company G casualty lists include 31 enlisted personnel killed, 69 wounded, 1 officer killed, and 2 wounded. After the Banzai attack of July 7th, the sector in front of Company G contains the bodies of 438 Japanese. Cowards. Yellow. Those are our boys.
Yes, they are. Yes, they were.
And a lot of these guys ended up coming back, growing up here, and we never heard these stories. That about does it for today. We hope to be on the radio next week. I don't think we'll have a show Friday because we've got things going on around the house here. Therefore, I'm Bob Going with Gavin Murdoch. Anything else you want to say?
No.
And that's it for the show with no name.